So I'm going to go through the main indices and market internals, and then I'm going to take a short look at currencies. It's obviously especially the dollar, and I'm going to pick 3 key commodities and then go straight into stocks. I'm going to cover UK and US stocks, particularly US growth stocks. I've got a very interesting watch list that I've developed over time, and I'll share that with you, and we can look at that later. Right, what the Nasdaq does, the rest of the market follows. Here's the Nasdaq first and foremost. If you want to ask questions, if you at the moment in the initial period, if you just type them in, if after I've done the initial part of the presentation you want to have a chat, add your comment, that's great. Then drop me a quick note and then we'll turn your mic on and ask away. Right, okay, so in the meantime, we are just, this Nasdaq is just literally sitting at all-time highs. Bear with me 1 second. So this taper tantrum and an issue in the bonds a couple of weeks back took us right into support, and then we pinged right back up. We've got a quiet week ahead of us. The bulk of the earnings in the US is out of the way. All the banks, US banks earnings came in on this week, back end of January, and since we've had major earnings, last week we had Amazon and Pfizer, etc. Not a lot of earnings left. The earnings that have come in are above expectation, to the tune of about 15% on average. So that's high, and that's reflected in the market. Also, the issue I've got with the market, particularly the US, is jobs growth is still lukewarm in the US. Time of year when we can expect to start to see an uptick, if there is going to be an uptick, but at the moment jobs growth is fairly tepid. Okay, so let's just zip across the indices. I trade the Dow, so let's have a look at the Dow. Similar story. The Dow is playing catch up because the Nasdaq is way ahead in terms of averages above the last year's high. The industrials index is lagging. That's a very strong close. That's an incredible response to that hard taper tantrum selling that we saw down to that 2900. These lines you've got here are the January the 4th range. So we came into January in the Dow with this big drop into support, and then we spent, with the exception of this little tantrum at the bottom here, we spent most of January just punching higher. So we're sitting up close to this resistance. This is a tough area for the Dow. I think we got Disney earnings this week, which is obviously a major component of the Dow. So we'll see what that does. I would expect at least a little dip into the first half of the week. We're very quiet on earnings and data this coming week, so I think at the very least the Dow needs a dip. If we subsequently close back inside this area here, then that spells short-term problems for the Dow. I was in a US conference, online conference, I think it was about the 4th of December, and the bullishness of the other US speakers was incredible. Most of the veteran traders in that conference were adamant that the Dow was going to hit 40,000. Well, we're not a million miles away from 40,000 up here anyway, around the 31,000 mark. But yeah, very, very bullish sentiment investment in the on the US side, and that's borne out by this relatively severe dip distribution and this bounce. So all we've got at the moment is a recovery. let's have a quick look at, if you look, so we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. That's no, forget that. That's a pretty pathetic Elliott wave count. Ignore that. And the point is, we had this area of resistance here. We bust up on Thursday and we held up into the close on Friday. And I had a quick look at the close of the futures market, and that was very strong. We did actually sell the Dow at these highs. We took it off for 115 pips and left it. That was my aim in the trading room. That worked out well, and that turned out to be the best move of the day. Why did I do that? Because in intraday terms, the system triggered short. So I have to follow the system. The system told me short we did, and right into the profit levels that I suggested, and just closed the account and walked away. The only thing I did look at, as I said, is just the close. So a very bullish tone to the market. If this Dow, let's see, if this Dow can start to push up into this current trendline resistance, then we could be looking at about 31.832. Like I said, if we see any weakness at this key resistance area, and we continue to have a couple of days lower, then that could spell problems for that Dow. Let's have a look at, let's switch across now to the DAX. I thought the DAX had a very bullish move on Friday as well. Now, this is a pattern that I've predicted based on what we saw last week. I drew this the second half of the week, and you can see it's a decent close into the January 8th level. We held up again. This had a very bullish day on Friday, and I think as a day trader, any market that holds up into the close, in theory, that bodes really well for the following week, because why else would futures traders particularly commit to holding over the weekend if they didn't think the market was going to continue higher? Okay, so it's a major that if we continue to close above here and make a new high, then we could get up to this 14.4, 14.5 quicker than I thought on the DAX. Let's have a look at the Footsie. Now this Footsie, as you guys will know only too well, is the real laggard. Strong pound is not helping this. For those of you who are less experienced, a strong pound tends to dent the Footsie companies because so many of them are international players who are who use the dollar. So if the pound's strong, that takes a slice off the top of their profit margins and dents their profits. Hence, one of the reasons why this Footsie is such a laggard. So that's drastically different from what we've seen in the DAX, the Dow, and of course the technology market, the Nasdaq. So all this Footsie has done is pull back into the 1st of Feb. So if we subsequently break out of this structure, this Footsie and close above 65.75, I would see this recovering to 2021 highs and possibly beyond quite quickly. We've got UK services. On second half of this week. I hope you're okay, Brett. I just heard somebody logging out. So yeah, I think, but overall, if this does close above this area here, I think that could ping up quite fast. I think that could really grab a bid. However, if we end up falling out the backside of this, if we subsequently find ourselves opening and closing down here, this could potentially wing its way down to 62.35. We might possibly sort of spend a few days, maybe even a week inside this apex and not get any decision out of it, particularly as we've got a lot of Asia away second half of the week as well. Anyway, as we stand at the moment, all the Footsie's done is pulling back into that 1st of Feb area, and I think the path of least resistance is up. It's just a question of whether we can sustain these levels, close a little higher, break up through that structure, and then edge or even power up to that 2021 highs. All right, now before I go across from this, I'm just going to add a little bit more information to this by looking at Japan. That is very, very similar to the Nasdaq. And let's look at the China A50. That's a new all-time high. So we have incredibly bullish markets. Right, market internals, volatility index. So the taper tantrum saw this rocket up to 35.40 and dipped the whole way back. So as long as we don't go back in this pink zone, this volatility index is actually traded as well. Not that I'd want to trade it, I'm not suggesting you trade it for 1 minute. As long as we stay down in this area, then that bodes well for continuity of the bullish tone in the market. And the other, I refer to the dollar as a market internal because for the US markets to be sustaining these highs, the dollar has got to stay down underneath that 91.85. Why? Because of the really aggressive rescue packages that Mr. Trump instigated and Mr. Biden is just about to try and push another $2 trillion through. A weak dollar is needed for the US to maintain their huge debt pile, which all central banks have collected in this COVID period anyway. But any significant push back in with this dollar could begin to spell problems for the market. So we saw a sell signal on that index. The euro is the biggest component of this index. The pound is the next biggest component. So it's an engulfing bar. We pushed higher, made a new high in this little run, immediately closed underneath it. So that bodes well for a weaker dollar. Right, I'm going to quickly go through Forex. We got Ken here today. No, it doesn't look okay. We have a trader from New Zealand who normally logs on. Right, pound US dollar. See, this strength of the pound is really containing and capping that Footsie. And you can see the structure there, plain as the eyes in your head, that if we start to break this current resistance level 136.75, then we are going to continue. Well, if we break this channel higher, then we're going to see 140 pretty quick. If you look at the weekly on this, we are popping back. This pink zone, those of you who know me, hear me talk about pink zones all the time, because these are fire lines. You're from New Zealand, okay. Yeah, our mate Ken is, I don't know where Ken is, he's normally reliably here. A lovely place. I have an old school friend who emigrated out there years ago. Pops back to the UK quite regularly. Yeah, this is the Brexit zone. And we popped back in here in January 18, and we are holding in here at the moment. So the main Brexit resistance is up there at 144 area, again, there's the funnel pattern. If we bust up through that, then I think this could accelerate. And perhaps the services data on Friday may do that. And the pound yen, I've been suggesting for quite some time now, the pound yen is to be bought. Now, the pound yen is, yen pairs are another market internal for me. If the appetite for risk is in the market, present in the global markets, not just the UK, etc. If the yen is weak, then that generally means the tone of the market is bullish, and this pound yen is busted out of this structure. I'd be surprised if we don't get through into 150 this week, judging by what we're seeing at the moment. However, if we suddenly do an about turn and start closing under 142 and subsequently close under 139, this bullish move is over. But all the time you're sitting outside of a structure, a squeeze structure like that, do not short. I would suggest you do not short that one. Now, euro, let's kick off with the euro yen. Euro yen is a lot more timid. It's got a lot to do with the European bond exercise, innovative bond exercise they did last autumn, is similar to what the level of cash that the market, that the central bank is pumping into the system, similar to the kinds of levels that we're seeing in the US. So that's why the pound is tending to benefit, and the euro and the dollar is well, this euro is still strong and sitting up above all the averages, and you can see this overall trend line coming in. So we could, if we can close above this 128, I think we'll see 130, 135. Let's look at the euro US. I'll look at a couple of Aussie pairs and then I'm going to move on. I'm trying to get through as much as I possibly can today because I just think there's so much going on, particularly on the stock side. I want to cover all the ground but leave as much time as I can for stocks. Euro US has got all this heavy overhang at 122. I suggested last week this is going to pull back. Let's look at the daily. I've forgotten I was on the daily, on the weekly. Yeah, I suggested last week we were going to pull back, and pull back we have, but that's a strong bounce. We didn't actually touch this trend line, and already we are bouncing up. So if this selling is over, and this, yeah, this is pretty close, if not on, the price I quoted last week. And now we've potentially got a reversal. New low in this little trend, immediate close above. That's a big engulfing bar. So that's quite a powerful move on the euro. As you can see, we're up. Those averages are the 10 and the 50. Obviously we're under both, but I continue close above that continue to close above 120 and 121, and we could pop back at least 123 plus. A lot to do on that one, right? I like the Aussie New Zealand. Yeah, I suggested this one was going to pop up. I thought it might spend a little time lower. So any Forex traders out there, keep a very close eye on this one, because we're going to talk about gold in a minute. It was bearish gold all last summer in public. So we appear to be building. We came into this pink zone, immediately popped out. So any pullbacks to 106, I think this is going up to 110. I think that's winding up. If I sort of pinch that chart, you can see we are up there at 110 in August. I think we're potentially going to build up and get up to that 110. Now the other Any pairs anybody wants me to look at? I'll just zip through a couple and then move on. Euro CAD. That's at the bottom of the box. I wouldn't trade it. I suspect this is a bearish consolidation at the moment. It's a massive box. I would steer clear of that. Pound New Aussie is another one I'll be looking at, and then we'll move on. Okay, knocked into that resistance. We look sideways to lower. It's, yeah, these Australian versus the European market tends to be, looks as if it's fairly well matched at the moment. Nothing there that makes me want to buy that. Right, moving on to commodities. So I was bearish gold all last summer. Started to buy dips. I bought a dip in silver last week. Closed stop, got stopped out, but I did get a move on this one. If I take this off, let's clean this up because it's a little bit too messy. You can't see what I'm actually seeing here. Okay, a lot of people are interested in miners, so it's well worth a look here. It's a little bit of a potential head and shoulders going on. It appears to be basing. That's why I've started to get interested in gold. We had this big drop on Thursday, and we saw quite a lot of volume come in on that dip, understandably, because it was back into a key area of support. I do still wonder if this is going to come down to 1750, but with that dollar being so weak, the normal healthy relationship of gold is weak dollar, strong gold. So if we continue to see a drop off of that dollar, then I think that if the gold gets above 1836, watch out, because I think we'll make our way up to this 1900 plus quite soon. So there's a lot of resistance out there, but we are potentially forming a base. And the last time, last time we came down to similar levels, we pushed up into 1900 plus. So I mean, the jury's out, because there's still this still could so easily be a bearish consolidation, because if that's quite a nice distribution pattern there. So if all we end up doing is crushing into that 1836, then we could still wind down and come to the bottom of this trend line. I will start to bid on some of these levels, but if I get another stop out in metals, then I will back off and sit back and wait for this to dip lower. We have got US inflation back end of the week. I think this is the year one of the reasons why I'm interested in gold at the moment is this is going to be the year of inflation, I think. And the last big blast up came from this 1997. We had a decent move up here in this period, June, July last year. So we've got a lot of history down here. And also back here in late November, early December, we went on a really decent run on a similar pattern to this. So that's why I'm beginning to dip my toe in the water here now. But and I will, if we close above 1836, I'm going to start adding. So we'll take a close look at the miners as we get going. Right, silver. Also, I'm going to do a little, if you're interested, I'm going to do a little, if I've got time, I'm going to talk about why GameStop went so radically high and how you can find stocks like GameStop. Right, silver. pumped up. It was in the news a lot, wasn't it? Pumped up and dumped. However, they dragged it right back into this 26. So I was too early. I called it too early last week. Nice close last week. So if this is a sort of a 1, 2, 3 wave push, and then we've got a deep corrective wave, then if we can start to close above 27, and particularly 27.5, then we could be knocking on the door of 30 again. 30 is a massive number in silver. It's so big. I think we might need a couple of runs up to it before. But if we at any time soon we close above 30, then look for 32 plus pretty quick. Okay, so this is ahead of gold. It's ahead of gold because it's an industrial metal, as opposed to gold is not an industrial metal. It is used in industry, but in much, much, much lower levels than silver. As you know only too well, gold is traditionally an inflation hedge. So I'm interested in both. I like both. Right. It's not the time of year that I start to really focus on the softs. I'm looking for wheat. Spent a lot of time talking about wheat last year. Spent last summer talking about this breakout. Talked about $6. We actually recently touched 7. I need another pullback. I'm looking for a deeper corrective wave closer to 6 before I get back into that. And beans, I've not looked at Bitcoin. I will just go and there's the breakout pattern I drew last summer. Beans was way down there, $8.20. We've just gone and tested $14.35. That's way too high for me. This is one of the problems I've got in my personal style of trading. I don't chase markets and I don't buy high. So sometimes I miss stuff that is high and gets higher. But hey, I'm not changing my trade plan. So I'm hoping that will come down to a much lower level. These averages are it's been such a powerful move. I need that lower. Right, let's look at cocoa. Yep, this cocoa's on the way now. I am long cocoa, been buying these dips. Been talking about cocoa for the last, well, most of this year so far, really. If I think we're going to close out of 1740 quite soon. The Wisdom Tree ETF is one way of trading this. If we do close above that 1740, I think we're going to find ourselves up at 20 quite quickly. How quickly, I don't know. But it's a long-term investment for me. Something I intend to hold for certainly weeks and 1 or 2 months. I'll hold it for a lot more if it does what I want it to do. Let's just add volume onto this chart before I move on. Anybody got any other commodities they want me to look at? The volume's building. Look, Liam, this is a sure sign of bullishness to me. We have been struggling under here, but the volume has been building. So as long as that volume continues to build, we actually popped up here on relatively low volume. Wasn't a massive spike. Certainly a steady growth in volume. It's not a heavily traded commodity. In actual fact, the volume levels we're seeing here is higher than we saw in this November breakout. So that bodes very well for cocoa. Cotton, okay. I suspect most of the let's look at New York cotton. Yeah, with the dollar having been so weak, a lot of commodities have gone up. That's similar to the meteoric rise of the beans, isn't it? Very, very high, very strong. The massive volume spikes up here. It's travelled such a distance. I mean, it's doubled since it's doubled in 10 months. If I was going to buy this, I'd hope to see that at least at 770, 7750. But the volume is so high, I'm not sure we're going to see that. Let me have a look at my commodity list just to make sure I've not missed anything else. Orange juice. That's going to pick up. A lot of volume picked up in that orange juice. 109 looks like the buy signal. Rice. Rice is struggling, but also seeing some volume. Nowhere near as keen as rice as I am cocoa. Talking of which, coffee. That is picking up. That bodes well. Right, let's move on. Copper. Yeah, let's look at copper. I meant to look at copper. Let's London cocoa. Right, copper. Had a huge, massive run last year, and it's back on the run again. So, well, I mean, it started to look very expensive last year. Again, it's doubled in 10 months. Well, it looks as if it's going to go on another run. Any pullbacks to 79 potentially bought. If we can close above 82.40, we're going to go up to that 10 mark. Going to go up to that 100 mark. 106 is an extension. It looks higher. Definitely looks higher. But of all the commodities we just looked at the moment, cocoa's got the best potential. Let's just look at corn before we go. Let's go back to the softs a second. Yeah, not too dissimilar from the palladium. Okay. That's a good one, good measure of the car market. Let's look at, is that any good? Physical ETF. Let's try and find the actual there we go. Let's look at this one. Yeah, it's looking good. I would have thought that can go back to 2780 if we can. Let's see, 23 is a pullback. What else are we going to look at? Let's look at oil. Looking at commodities, I've not looked at oil. Yeah, so oil was pathetic and then blasted up. Absolutely blasted up. It looks to me as if the full retracement back to January last year is 65.40. So it looks as if we're going to see 65.40 at this rate. I suspect, I would have thought we're going to consolidation. We appear to be doing this in oil. I normally love day trading oil, but it's not been a great day trading vehicle of late. We seem to leap up out of nowhere and then consolidate. So I would have thought we'll at least come back to 55. What are we now? 57. I would have thought we'd come back to 55 before getting another leg up. Normally that's what this does. Right, let's gas. Yeah, of course. I should have looked at gas, shouldn't I? I'm not a big fan of gas this time of year. Normally I start to look at gas in the summer. This is what we looked at last summer, for those of you new to the room. Last June I called the gas, and we started breaking out late July. We had a huge bust up in August, which is normal. That's a normal cycle for gas. I think we'll get another bounce on the gas, but I'm not. I normally leave it as we come into the spring. What I'm looking for on the gas is this. I'm looking for gas to, yeah, maybe pick up as we come out in the back end of winter, but then dip into June, and then I'm going to start to buy up in June, July. That's a normal cycle for gas, and that's what I'm looking for this year as well. But yeah, short term, if you're interested in gas, I think any pullback into 27.75 might see that ping back to 30, 34. It's certainly in a breakout situation, but I'm just not a massive fan. Right, UK stocks. Nickel. All right. Well, very quickly. I never look at nickel. Let's have a look at nickel. Can't spell it. Yeah, it's gone. Looks higher. So all the metals are doing really well. A lot of resistance very close by. So miners should be doing well. Right, that's enough of commodities. Let's now get on to stocks. Right, I'm going to rattle through UK stocks, and then I'm going to talk about high growth UK banks. Barclays. Where are we? 147. So we look as if we can come and visit 160. The deep pullback end of January. So it's had a great week last week. I think that I can see that coming lower. I think the base is down here at 135. I think we might pull back to that area again. But we've come up here on volume, so the volume suggests I'm wrong. There's a lot of buyers pushed in there. So if I'm wrong, 145 is going to hold, and we're going to find ourselves back at 160 fairly quickly. If I'm wrong, if you're patient, you may get that pulling right back to 135. I suspect we're going to see that in all the other banks. Lloyd's on the face of it is better. Where are we? Finished at 37. I would have thought we would come back to 35 at least. I think 35 is, if we get 35, I would suggest that that's a good price to get in. HSBC struggling. That looks that looks short term. That looks lower to me. That seems to be this £4 seems to be a big problem for it. We might see that pulling back further. I don't trust any market that can't close above key moving averages. So that had a major drop off of 420 down to 377. I think that's going to come lower before that picks up. Not convinced that that is going to do it. Now, for some reason, Stan's not on my list, so I'll add it. Yeah, strong pound is knocking this lower. I think this is good. These guys have got lots of exposure to emerging economies, so which are doing okay on the back of the weak dollar at the moment. I think I think we might just dip a little further back. There's an awful lot of red on there, and there's a lot of sell volume on Friday. I don't think that's ready to go yet. I think that's lower short term. Yeah, okay, NWG. It's easier to just spell it out, isn't it? Wow. Well, that's the pick of the. That's come up on a very handsome volume. Very handsome. It's got a major wall of resistance at the 182 £2 mark, but that's an impressive pull up. I would have thought any pull back into the 160 area would be buyable on that one. Let's look at insurance. Let's look at more financial service the sector. Bear with me one moment. Yeah. Where's my? I've lost my insurance list. I'll look at LGen in a second. Just got to get my list sorted out. Right, where are we? Oh, there it is. Hiscox. These guys are beaten up, but now that I like the volume on that. I think Hiscox. Be careful of that, because if that drops under 945, that's lower. It does appear to be basing there. I think it's better to leave that another day or two, just rather than jump in now. Just make sure that doesn't dip lower. Now that's direct line DLG. That looks like a buy to me at 305. Aviva, and then we'll look at LGen. That's lower. That's coming down with the reason that volume LGen. I think sideways to lower. If we close above 260 any time during this week, then I can see that creeping back to 280. I think that's short-term lower. Like I said, I don't like markets that can't break up through key moving averages. So I personally would not get into that LGen. It had a fantastic run back here, 177 to a high of 280. I just think that needs a deeper pullback. But right, let's talk about. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. I'm going to switch to miners very quickly. Let's run through miners. Fresnillo. I think that might pull back before I think that might pull back into this 945, 960 sentiment. Key level of support there. I would give that another little period. If that closes above 116, 120, I think that can recover. That's CEY. These are all UK. POG. That's still struggling. Yeah, it's still struggling. Under a trend line as well. And there was some volume coming on Friday. I would not touch that until that gets above 28. I think that's a good one though. I think that's definitely one to watch. Again, I think it's the strong pound. I think the strong pound's pinning that back. Polymetal. It's not in a great position at the moment, but it's certainly if this polymetal closes above 1656, I can see that bit pulling up. I don't know exactly what metals they're dealing with, but metals market is very strong. There's certainly quite an uptick in volume, but still a little bit too much red for me on the charts. CAS. CAS had a great run. Pan African. I would need to see that close above 23. I would need to see that close above 23 before I bought that. I'm going to quickly switch across to US miners. This is a silver miner, HL, been around a long time. Massive spike in volume up here. This is a bit of a pump and dump. They've pumped it up and dumped it. This is what GameStop. This is what happened to GameStop. GameStop was a yeah, GameStop was a pump and dump. This US HL looks a bit of a pump and dump. I think if we see HL at 550, 560, I would buy that. Let's look at. We didn't look at Griffin, right? Come on, Griffin. I tell you what concerns me about Griffin. He's still in this, Andy. Just very concerned that I had this massive spike here on the 15th, and there's very little follow through. What's your target? Is this just a? Are you just going to? Is this just a buy and hold for you? Just a long-term mark trade, is it? Okay. Well, we've certainly been. Let's have a look at the weekly. Okay. Well, the weekly makes, you're looking for 178, right? Well, I tell you what, if we close above 160, I can see that getting to £2. I would have thought that will get to, I reckon if you take away the volume and just look at the way the chart's setting up, I'm just concerned about that volume. I personally, if I'm going to hold a stock like that, I'd want to see a continued buying on dips. The buying looks a bit weak to me. Right, another US one, KGS. This is definitely KGC, sorry, Kingross. I think this is destined for $10, and I think you might be able to pick it up. You might be able to pick it up at 7 still. And let's look at the big NEM. So I'm just Newmont. Not great. An awful lot of red on the volume level charts, but looks like it could pick up. Rio. It's pinched at a support level, so it could return back to those highs if we can get another higher close on the daily there. Right, I'm going to move on. I need to move on quickly because we're already up to nearly 7 o'clock. Let's look at let's look at some UK techs. Let's go back to IQE, one we're tracking. Coming lower. This is what I want to see. If you're in it, I'm sure you don't want to see that. I would like to see that back at 75. I'm just going to be patient on this one. It's come a long way, isn't it? 20. Yeah, it's come a long, long way. It does have a habit of pushing up and then drifting lower. I'm going to be really patient on that and wait to see if that can come as low as 70 on IQE. TESM. No, can't find it. Don't know. Right, let's forget that. No. Right, let me look at my UK list. Right, what else do you want me to look at? I'm long rolls. I've been buying into rolls at 93. I think I got in. Right, okay. Let me just grab a sip of drink. Yeah, so I think rolls is beginning to pick up here. I think if we can get above that pound mark, I can see that beginning to wind its way back to that gap fill. Right. BT. It's easier if I just punch them in. Been buying back into BT. I might have got back in a bit too early because I'm not happy about the way that looks at the moment, to be honest. Excuse me a second, my throat's a bit dry. Hang on a second. So I'm in BT and Rolls-Royce. Let's look at Sainsbury's. This is a key area for Sainsbury's. I think you may see that coming down to 225, 230. Awful lot of selling. However, if that gets above 236 in the early part of the week, then I can see that pushing up. But I personally think that's going to want to reconnect with about 230. And let's look at the other retailers. M&S. I suggested a week or so ago this could drop. I still think that's lower. Next. That's pulled back and holding. Okay, Amanda, thanks. Thanks for joining. And let's look at Tesco. Tesco is looking better. Not a great looking chart, but looking better. You wanted to look at Associated British Foods. That is looking better. That looks as if that's going to go and see 24 sometime soon. May pick up if we can close above this little area. I think that could gather steam. I think that could power up. You think you're buying 231 on that? Yeah, I think that should do. Ocado. I'm not a big fan of Ocado. In the early days I was shorting it. It's all right. I mean, why am I not happy with it? I mean, it's had a fantastic run from 21.40 up to this 29. It's sitting up. I think that needs a pullback. It's just sitting up in resistance, so it's a little hard to call that one because it's just sitting up close to so much resistance. Right. I just want to whiz around the market a bit more. EasyJet. Just want to get a feel for what the UK market is doing, and that's picked up really nicely. Domino Pizza. These are all sort of bellwethers to me. UK bellwethers, sideways to bullish. Let's look at oil in a second. Right, I want to move on. Let's look at Glaxo. Yeah, I'd suggested this might want to come lower, purely from technical bait from the level. Let's tidy this chart up. Because what I was seeing, the main thing for me is this trend line. I just don't think we've found major support yet. No idea why it's lower, and I'm not interested why it's lower at the moment. If this is really weak, I mean, we've closed under major support here. if this is really weak, we could be going down to 1150 area. Where are we now? We are 1270. However, if that picks up above that 1283, we should see a recovery quite quickly. I mean, Glaxo's got a habit of just drifting lower, drifting lower, drifting lower, and then powering up. Yeah, so we had a nice move up here for, well, everything moved up in March, didn't it? Or nearly everything. We did this again down here in November, and then powered up to 1460. But there's just no, I've got nothing to hang this on at the moment, other than this big trend line. So unless that gets above that red line soon, it's going to be lower. Right. Let's look at right move. So I am jumping around here. I've slowed down and I've still got some work to do. TUI. Right, I want to look at, let's look at the oil. That's where it's come in contact with my pink zone and closing higher. So I would have thought we could build back to 1440 on Shell. Let's look at our Tullow, or Andy's Tullow. Yeah, so I'm just a bit concerned well, I'm not concerned, I just think short term oil's going to pull back, especially after that not unspectacular US jobs number we saw on Friday. I think that might drift back down to 24.25. Make sure I've not missed anything here. Oh, Saga and Menzies. Let's look at BP first. Sorry, stay on the oil theme, then I'll cover that ground. BP still looks lower. Excuse me. Right, Saga. I've been monitoring Saga actually. Oh yeah, that's so good. I thought this was going to pick up. Yeah, I mean, look as if we could. Not a great chart. Why is that gapped up? Is that earnings or something? One of the Saga family lives down the road from me. Yeah, if we close above that 322, we can make higher. Are you in this? I don't like the volume. Not mad about the volume. Menzies. Mahib, I'll just look at yours in a second. Hang on. What's it going to look at Menzies? Yeah, looks okay. Might get back to 270. Not a startling chart, but it's chugging higher. A bit scrappy actually. No, I take that back. It's a bit scrappy. I think that short term that looks lower. I mean, it's pushing up. It's got some volume. Yeah, Cineworld. Let me get to my other list. He's still Amigo. Amigo is really struggling. It's just not doing it. Volumes dropped right off. NEX. You just recently bought this NEX. What is NEX? Why don't I know? Oh, National Express, right. Whoa. These, look at the impact of volume on this. That's coming up on volume, so that looks higher. Lovely little chart. What price did you buy this, mate? You bought into this recently. We've got a gap up there at 325, 250. Well done. You bought it at a decent support level. Great, nice. Cineworld, yeah, I've been watching that one as well. I think that's doing all right, isn't it? Not a lot of volume in it. I'm surprised it's held up, seeing as all their outlets are closed. I'd be careful with this one. I don't know what price you got in, but I mean it's holding up, but there is the volume's dropping off, and there's so yeah, it's a couple of handles on Saga. Yeah, so, I mean Saga is definitely looking good. Right, I'm tracking this money supermarket. I like that. Look at that volume that came in on Friday. We've got to close above 266, but I think that that could ping up. There's the main so we've come out of this structure. I think it's worth buying some stock here. I wouldn't go crazy about this, but I think if that holds, as long as we don't close back in there, I think that can. I mean, if we sometime soon close above 280, I think that could really pick up. So we saw 350 last summer. I think that could pick up. Right, Megits looks all right, looks higher. Right, I'm going to go on to. I'm going to quickly go on to my US growth area, and then just rattle through. I've got Frog. I'm in this one. It's got volume. It's got the chart pattern I like. You know, it's broken up here on volume. Volume's slackened off a bit recently, but I think that's still a buy at 64, 65, and could start to wind its way up. So I like Frog. I'll quickly zip through, and then you see what I like. Nope. Yandex. I think that's got more in it, but I think there's better stocks out there. Broom, this is really motoring, beginning to motor. I think any pullback to 44. I think we can wind up to 50 plus on this. But currently, we closed Friday really well at 46. BRM looks really good. Broken out of this area here. These US stocks are much more exciting. Quickly nip through. No. Square is too expensive for me. I think Square's got a lot more. It's good. Some of these growth stocks you just have to buy. If you want them, you have to buy high. Skills. This is well and truly gone. This was a $11 stock. This is much better than Gain. Forget Gain. It's not a dump and this is not a pump and dump. This is a good quality growth stock. So I think if you're not in this, wow, you're gonna have to be just see if it has a really bad day. But that's well and truly gone. Ocean. Now this is good. The most recent run is there. We've recently pulled back to 412 and we're currently 4.8. I think any pullback close to that 4. I like this one a lot. OPTT. Volume's picking up. So I would want to pull back on that one. Occidental. No, I don't know why that's not. That should be on this list actually. Look at the volume coming in on this. That's a good run. I wish my chart package would stop doing that. That's just into a resistance area now. So I'm going to have to wait for a pullback on that one. Novarax. Gone. Oh, Netflix. Pullback. Look, I'll look at that in a minute. Medtronics. That's got a lot more mileage, but you'll need a pullback, I think. Kinross we've talked about, Just Energy. Wow. I think that's dangerous. Any stock that has that violent pattern needs to be left. Iconics. That's gone. Nope, that's dangerous. Good. I've been trading this. I'm in this one. Looking for this to get back up to 65. It's still got. It's not too expensive. If you ever see that down, if GDRX at 50, then have a look at it. Fubo TV. This needs a pullback. It's seen 62, closed at 50. I'm going to set an alert for this. Fubo. Oh, I've already got one. Yeah, I'm gonna leave Fubo. Be patient. DraftKings. Gone. Climate. Nope. Cleveland. Now, that's beginning to get quite expensive. These are all stocks of good sales growth, by the way. I can't suggest you get into that. It's too close to resistance. I'm going to answer your questions in a minute. Bristol Myers. Oh, that's good. I've got an alert set for 59.5 on Bristol Myers, so I'm waiting for that to dip. Leave that. Okay, so I've got to cut a few there. Let's go back to let's look at BA as in Bank of America or BA as in IAG. Boeing. Sorry, it's not BAC is Bank of America, isn't it? Boeing. Right, let's look at Boeing. I always get the Bank of America and Boeing mixed up for some reason. I think it's short-term lower. This used to be a massive bellwether on the Dow, but I think it's going to come back into that support. If that's the case, that might, yeah. If you look at the behaviour of this stock, it has very feeble pushes higher, moves higher. They had earnings about a week and a half ago, didn't they? Yes, they did, and they lost. Is it $15 a share or something? Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, before pre-COVID, the market was really bullish about this. I've got this 440 market marked, and pre-COVID, everyone was buying up Boeing, expecting 440. So of course, once COVID came along, they dumped it. And interesting that they dumped it at the 200-day average. So on the 13th of Feb, that closed under the 200-day average. Fantastic technical short there. Right, I'm just about to wrap up. I've looked at. I do think Shell and BP are short-term lower. Yeah, I looked at those a while back. Have you just joined us? Because I have looked at those already. Very quick. I'll look at it now just while let's look at BP. Yeah, short-term lower. It's coming down on volume, BP. That's a massive area of support. You just joined, okay. You know what? I wouldn't. I think you're too late for decent money puts. You've got options expiry on the 19th. I'm not one to talk about options. Options is my weakest area, but that spike higher into 308 plus 310. We just completely faded away. We're ex-div on the 11th, aren't we? Right, they expire on you got some US options obviously that expire on the 19th. Yeah. I was going to look at something I completely forgotten I was going to look at. But Shell has had a run. I think oil is just after. I think before you joined, I said very mediocre jobs in the US on Friday. So I think oil may take a hit on the back of that. Netflix, yeah, I went through it. Didn't stop at Netflix, did I? Well, put it this way: there's no reason to sell it. Yeah, it made a lovely poke higher into 560. Quick look at IBM. Yeah, you know what? That's not bad. It's a bit scrappy for me. I in answer to your question, Gushan, I don't think Netflix. I think there's better chance out there than Netflix. I think some of the other stocks I've gone through are much better options than Netflix. Netflix is a great stock. It's sitting up. There's no reason to sell it. It could go higher, but it's just very close to major resistance. The same will go for this. It's pulling up. We've just closed above a key area here. And this could really pull its socks up. And we were at 134 not so long ago. It's not a stock for me, but it's definitely got short term at least. I would have thought we can get back to 130 on that. Dropbox. Let's look at Apple. A very quick look at Apple, and then I'll go Dropbox. Etsy's another one to look at. It's the same with, it's a good stock. Same with Netflix, sitting up. I'm just a bit. I just wonder if they're going to see a little bit more selling in the first part of the week. Hey, I mean, if that drops into the 130 area, I would. If I was going to buy Apple, I'd want to buy a pullback. I'd want that to dip. So I think I'd wait for a day or two and see if that could dip to 130. You may, and if we see 130 or 125, even lower, you may get a chance to buy that up and pick that up back into 145, 150. Right, yeah, but it's decent, very decent premium on puts on Apple. Why would you want to short Apple though? I can find, if you want to short stuff, I haven't got time now, but there's much better stuff that I find to short. I wouldn't short Apple, personally. Cheers, John. See you in the room tomorrow. I don't think you're registered for that. Make sure you get registered. DBX. I have recorded this. Anybody? I have recorded this, so I will publish the recording. If you want to collect, if you want to make sure you get the recording, then I would suggest you do this. Hang on. Go to this page. I'm about to punch in the room. Go to that page and click the white box that says get the next update. Right. Salesforce, yes. But Dropbox is right up. It's good. I do like these lower price stocks. It's right near resistance though. But hey, I mean, all the time it's punching higher. It is a massive area of resistance. It's 20, yeah, very, very close to major resistance. It's not for me. I prefer to find something that's basing rather than something that's already gone. I'm just allergic to buying higher. You asked me to look at something, I've forgotten what it was. Salesforce. Yeah, looks good. It's come up. It's just one of these growth stocks that's come a long, long way, and I bet the price earnings ratio is something crazy, isn't it? It's one of these growth stocks. If I was to buy that, I would try and hold out for 225, 230. DKNG is on my list. At least it should be. No, I've not talked about it. DKNG. DKNG. DraftKings, yeah. It's. Oh, I suspect I probably left it off my list because it's just so high. It's yet another stock. We're getting to that point in the markets where it's hard to scan again. Because everything's shot back up again. Hey, would you buy a stock that's sitting right at resistance? I don't buy resistance. I buy support. I think if you're patient, you might see 55, 57. I'll put it on my list and come back to it. Yeah, the stocks have just gone so high again. I don't know why this isn't on my list. It should be DocuSign. This is another good growth stock. Yeah, we've come from nothing. We come from $50, $60 to $250 plus. Price earnings ratio, no doubt, is a very big number. ETFs, okay, yeah, I'll talk about ETFs. I've got a list here of ETFs. HZNP. HZNP. Yet another one. We've looked at so many that are right up against it. It's gone. I don't buy resistance, I buy support. So if I was to buy this, I would hold out for at least 80, minimum 80. And 70, 75 would be my preference. And I think that's I think being patient on this one's justified because it's sort of got pumped up and the volume's dropping off. I talk about I've been talking for an hour and a half. I need to produce another video as well tonight, believe it or not. Yeah, ETFs, same problem. Right, let me go to my list. Well, obviously, I use ETFs. I think ETFs are good for commodities. So we've got the Wisdom Tree Cocoa one. If gold is going to base, I would suggest you might want to look at gold. IGLN is iShares Physical Gold. So that's another. So commodities, in other words. I normally use ETFs for commodities for long-term commodity buys. Wisdom Wheat is WEAT, but I need a pullback in that one. IPOE, that's on. That's. I think I looked at that one before I came on screen. IPOE. Yeah, I'm going to put that back on my list. IPOE. I want to see 20 on it. I'd want to see that pop. We're down at 23. I'd want to see. Thanks for drawing that to my attention. I think that's not bad. I'd want to see at least 20. Right, okay, guys, I've just got to go. I'm going to finish up here.